Okay, so the second half of the two-part vid covering day 24 to 38. I'm going to just read some things that little notes that I was taking over the last 2 weeks, things that helped me. So I'll just say a couple of those. One of the things is advice I got from a teacher, Igor Kufayev, is that mastery necessitates the free-flowing movement of prana, and so without that, then there really can't be mastery. And that's really, I've come to understand what that means in some way. Wanting to respond to things not in an habitual way, having the awareness of that the system is wanting to respond habitually, and so recognizing that and then wanting to change it, and then you change it. But if the prana is not free enough, then it's the same thing. It just looks a little bit different. It's maybe more hidden, but it's essentially the same pattern that's being played out. So there isn't any real change on that level. It's just superficial, and so that seems like a very important part of this whole thing is getting bringing the system to a point of ease whereby prana can flow freely, and then when change is enacted, it's real change. So in all of my attempts to change things, one of the things that has come through is the importance of veneration of the guru, and however you understand what the guru is. Okay, like some don't have to use the word guru even. What I mean is the supreme being who knows, something like that, and we all have access to that inside of us if we are. I suppose there's a number of conditions, or deconditions. For me, it's taken the form of just being humble enough to recognize that maybe I don't know, and then to slow down a little bit and to just listen. Yeah, I suppose it doesn't help too much to say everyone finds it on their own. Yeah, this is not the most inspired video. I'm feeling quite down. Likely just because I was feeling up for a while, so it's just the downswing of that. Partly that, and partly just the system being where it is, and then how I explained in the day 39 video. Of how I pushed it a bit far, and so dealing with the consequences. Other advice that's come through is to be able to think bigger than you feel. And so that's why I'm still recording now. That's where the discipline is is coming in, I suppose. I feel like cuck, but I'm able to not get caught in the thought patterns of despair that come with that, and I have an objective, and so like just get on with it kind of thing. So we're conditioned in such a way that some things are allowed and others are not, and some people are more successful at holding that back than others, and it's probably a bad thing at some point to be able to hold back. And what that then causes is like an increase in an accumulation of shadowy content, which needs to then find expression at some time. But the longer it stays there, the stronger is the investment that it can't be that thing, and so the more energy is required to hold it back, which increases one's tiredness, and tension and anxiety, because it increases the degree of separation that one feels, which is inherently anxiety provoking. And then there's this energy available for life, so what that requires is a noticing of that holding, and then just stop. And you can at any time, you can just stop, and it's always not as if it's been there for a long time, then there can be quite a fear, and it can be quite irrational, because of the continued many small instances of averting that thing, which makes one, like, each of those instances is a little bit of fear, and then that builds up, and then when at some point it's noticed that there's this thing, and then one wants to release, it can be quite, then all that fear is there that then needs to be reckoned with, but it's blown way out of proportion, so that, the saying goes, it's never as bad as you think. Cool, I'll just run through a couple of the things that I read. So on a similar note then, anything that's imposed on the system becomes a problem at some point. It becomes detrimental, problem. An aberration. And even a thought can be an imposition. Most often is, if it's coming from an I-ness, I suppose. Maybe there's something there that I need to figure out. So once you can recognize thought itself as just a thought, then you can be free of it, and you have to totally disinvest from thought entirely. It can't be given any importance. As soon as it is, then it just runs and runs and runs. It's not like some thoughts are good and some are not. If you want to go beyond that, you have to let it collapse, and the only way that happens is if it's totally disinvested from. Uh, so then a point where I often don't go beyond is when I'm noticing thought with thought. Uh, but then there needs to be like a recognition that that is also a thought, still thought. So it's like some thought form is watching other thought forms and being like, oh, that's a thought, you can let that go. But then who's the one that's thinking that thought? And when that recognition happens, then it allows for surrendering. Um, if you keep making the same mistake, you haven't actually seen the mistake yet. Maybe you think you have, but the reason you're still making the mistake is because you haven't seen it. So there's nothing that you can do about mistakes to fix them or whatever, and you'll just be running around in circles forever trying to do that. And I certainly have tried very hard to to sort shit out on that level. Um, but really, once you just see it for what it is, naturally it will fall in its right place, and then that mistake will no longer be made. There's actually nothing that you can do, because that doingness is an illusion in any case. So you can't fix it from an illusory level. So then, paradoxically, what to do is to just increase one's light capacity to hold light so that you can perceive deeper, more, and then see more, and then look. Um, that is all. Last two things would be the recognition that everything in the phenomenal world is Shakti, is the workings of the feminine principle, say. So if there's anything that you don't want, you don't like, you have an aversion to, then essentially what you're doing is rejecting God. Uh, so what is prescribed is like to honor and include all of it. And then what you realize once you've done that is that the problems was your very non-acceptance in the first place. And then it dissolves and is allowed to be more coherent, and then uh, doesn't look ugly anymore, doesn't look like something you wouldn't want. So when there's unpleasant experiences, to be averse to that is just making more aberrations, more problems for yourself. Um, to be able to be with it no matter what is a key. The basis of reality is silence, on top of which there are noises. As someone who struggles with being overstimulated and dysregulated by that, that has truly been a remarkable insight and experience. It moved into my experience the last couple of days that it's just silence and stillness, and then there's stuff happening on top of that, but it's tiny in comparison. And then there is that natural urge or tendency to fix on the noises and the movements and survival stuff, but if one can establish themselves in the silence, I think truly become unshakable. Doesn't matter what is happening around, you're just in the silence. So maybe a little practice could be just to notice the silence between sounds, the space between things. And something I got from Guru Mohanji is to observe running water and not to fix on anything and then follow it, just to open the focus and just see how it's all flowing, but perfectly still. It's like, is the water going anywhere? Okay, this has been a struggle to get through, and yeah,